Hello, I'm Thomas Haire, Chief Content Officer of the Performance-Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. We welcome you to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. 6 of those members of that council are looking at you right now, a great group of folks, and they've really been the power behind these 20-minute live conversations that feature the leaders in performance marketing, speaking about the hottest topics in the industry. We're always scheduled twice a month and represent just a part of the PDMI's virtual education arsenal. Included in that arsenal is the PDMI Workshop Council's seasonal seminar series, which will return for its first 60-minute winter webinar titled The State of Media next Tuesday, while PDMI East Virtual, a 2-day 8-webinar event replacing our previously planned in-person event, will take place on March 9th and 10th. You can find more information on and your opportunity to register for these events at our website, thepdmi.com. Before we get to today's conversation, a quick housekeeping note. The group will be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type in and send your questions in. We'll be collecting them and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. Today, we're taking one last look back at 2020 with this esteemed group from our Brand Response Council. In the December issue of Results Magazine, our quarterly publication, 7 members of the council took a crack at this challenge. Describe your 2020 in 7 words or less. Today, 5 of those leaders, plus an additional expert from the council, join us to dive a little deeper into those witty and thoughtful responses. They are Douglas Bognar, Vice President of Sales and New Business Development for Apex Media, Chris Foster, Vice President of New Business of Modern Postcard and the Chair of the Brand Response Council, Dan Kelly, General Manager of Ad Sales for Dish Media, Heather Molina, Vice President, Cross-Channel Marketing for Red Door Interactive, Mark Sullivan, Vice President of Convergent Ad Sales for ViacomCBS, and Shira, Witelson, founder of RSLT. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to start with you, Chris. Your response in December: we will never go back to before. Take us a little deeper into your thoughts.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, and thanks for the topic and the inclusion. Yeah, we will never go back to before means that I was hearing a lot of folks saying, well, when we go back to normal, or when things go back to normal, we will, or when we go back to when it was before the pandemic. Hate to say it, folks, but there's never going to be that time again, ever. The world is completely changed. Media has changed. Buying behavior has changed. In fact, there's a recent study where almost 80% of the traffic that was coming on for website traffic and purchases were from people who actually had never purchased online before. And Generation Z, which will be the largest consumer group by 2026, even before the pandemic, 2/3 of them hadn't shopped the previous year in a store. They only shopped online. So I don't think that those behaviors are going to change very much, guys. And Thomas, I don't think that we'll ever go back to the place where it was quote unquote normal. The reservations of people gathering at events, the way in which we've changed our habits, the way in which our buying decisions are being made are forever changed. And so the question is, we're not going to go back, but we're going to go forward as always, but it's going to be very different even when the vaccinations are out and even when we get through this a year or so from now. It will never be the same way it was. And so it requires all of us to think a little bit more differently and to be prepared for even future adjustments that are even perhaps more challenging if possible, but also just very different. So I don't think that there's ever going to be a quote unquote normal time again. And you know what, I guess that's part of life where we have a new normal and we constantly seem to have new normals, right? If the only true rule is that the only thing certain is more change.
Very true, very true. I think, Doug, you had kind of a similar vibe to what you had shared. Your 6-word recap really echoes Chris. There is no return to normal. Can you share more about what you're thinking here?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, Tom. And thanks for bringing the panel together today. I think Chris is spot on, but I think of it beyond just the last 10 months or so with what we faced with the pandemic. For me, I started talking about there's no return to normal, or there is no normal as it relates to climate. There's no such thing as just an average year in weather anymore. We veer from one extreme to the other, extreme cold, extreme heat. We've seen the results of that with the fires out in the west, the storms in the southeast. That changes what we face as direct marketers, right? The pandemic, we lay that on top of that. The political and socioeconomic disruption that we've seen in the last couple of years, all of these factors, it seems almost quaint to me that a few short years ago, all I was worried about was cord cutting. And where does our potential customer lie? Where are they going? How do I access them? How do I sell them something? It seemed, now listen, that's still my job. I still have to figure that part out, but it seems almost quaint. So there's a variety of levels of change that we have to account for as direct marketers, in how we reach them, what we're selling them, the experience that we provide to them. The job has just become more and more complex. There's one little glimmer of hope that I'll mention. I just watched a Simon Sinek video where he was talking about consumers having a little bit more leeway, giving a little bit more of a break to marketers in terms of delivery and availability of product. So we've got a little window here to take advantage of that due to disruptions of supply chains and demands on the delivery system. But we still have to, as direct marketers, really focus in on the needs, wants, desires of our customer and satisfy those. So lots of change to account for, much more than we would have thought of just a few short years ago.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doug, for your thoughts. Dan, I'm going to jump to you next. Your 6 words: not to be repeated nor forgotten. What lessons can we learn by not forgetting what happened last year?
Well, thanks, Tom. I think, there's so many lessons. A couple of key lessons, though, was flexibility, right? And at a time where TV viewership was at all-time highs, those of us on the selling side were forced with being flexible with inventory, with pricing, in order to help facilitate some of the the changes that Doug had mentioned, supply chain, different hurdles that we know clients were up against. Although the viewership was great for us, we still had to be flexible. And I think that's definitely a lesson to continue. But flexibility is a two-way street. So what was kind of bent one way needs to bend back a little bit more as we do readjust. And the perhaps opportunities or pricings that were granted at those certain times aren't something to be held to, because again, we flexed in our business to help out. We did our part. Now we would look for partners to do the same as we come out of this. I think one of the other learnings was, who are we speaking to with our messaging, right? When the pandemic hit and the ad market kind of scrambled as different kind of high reach vehicles like sports and stuff got highly impacted, folks weren't sure what to do. Were you going to pull off completely? Were you going to take the budget that you allocated towards innovation and scrap that first? But it all boiled down to, in order to get through it, clients really needed to stay focused on speaking to their core and speaking directly to the folks that were going to really help get them through it while eliminating the waste. So I definitely think that was a big lesson for a lot of clients in regards to how to make sure that to keep the message pointed to the folks that are really needed the most, whether that's in good times or in bad. And figuring out that audience and making sure that they stay top of mind and top of message.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Always appreciate your thoughts. And then this topic is such a important one, I think, for folks as we start turning this corner here into 2021, into a new day, and to think back. It's good to hear them. Thank you. Shira, turning to you, our newest member of the council, and the one who raised her hand to jump in here with your thoughts. Last week, you shared a forward response with me as we prepared for this. You just wrote, "The Great Consumer Awakening." Tell us more.
Yes, thank you, Tom. So one notable consequence of this pandemic is an increase in awareness of consumer privacy. Why I'm saying that? We checked several word search on the internet, and we noticed that the word privacy, the interest in that word increased by 36% since the pandemic, the lockdown started in New York City. So why do I think it's happening? As you know, many countries around the world start tracking mobile data in order to find cluster of people that are ill. Now, what happened that this was talked about all over the internet, on TV, and suddenly consumer understood how easily it is to track mobile data, right? But then, for life and death, they might be okay with that. But for shopping purposes, they might not be always okay with that. I believe that good advertising should not leverage personal identifiable information. Now, there's something called uninformed consent. In many attribution provider and analytics provider leverage such data. What is uninformed consent? Who here has a smart TV at home? If you don't mind to raise your hand. Most of us, right? So when you acquired the smart TV, when you opened the box and started to click OK in the setup process, you do not know this, but one of the OK that you clicked was in fact making your TV a tracker, really being able to monitor what's happening in your browsing on your second-hand device, such mobile and tablet. And also in the process, your smart TV are gathering personal information about you. Now, I believe that all of this is going to raise a big backlash, as it's happening now with WhatsApp and Facebook and social media. But there's a way, to mitigate it. So, for example, you can ask providers, data providers, some questions. So, for example, do you source your data from uninformed consent? Do you store personal information? And also, one last thing that I recommend is that if you are also a person that has the possibility to decide who is going to be the vendor on your team, really read the privacy statement. Don't leave it to legal. Always look, for the fine print. And, at the end of the day, neglecting consumer privacy can hurt the brand, but with the right questions, you can be on the right track.
Great. I mean, absolutely crucial stuff there, Shira. Thank you. I think those who have been around know that we did touch a little bit on data privacy in a previous Take 20 episode late last year. It's going to be a continuing topic for us at the PDMI as we go into this year. We've discussed future Take 20s. We have a session already scheduled for PDMI East Virtual talking about data privacy. And I think you're right. Consumers are now awake to this concept of being tracked more than ever, and they're paying more attention than ever. So it's going to be on us to figure out how to deal with that. Thanks again, Shira. Heather, I asked you, as we start looking forward here from 2020, what's behind your 6-word answer, hoping 2021 is kinder to us?
I feel like it's obvious. It's obvious because there's so many different levels and so much nuance to what that could possibly mean. But 2021, especially for those of us in the digital specific space, it was all about agility and continuous agility and those shorter media plan stints and sprints and everything else, and having to take data and take all of this, these insights and stuff that we have on consumers and actioning against them in real time and not relying on what we thought were out, what we thought the data was saying and letting that ride for, 4 to 6 months before we change a media plan. It was much more instantaneous. And there were weeks where we were taking things week by week in terms of where we were going to push dollars and where we were going to push our energy, not just in the advertising space, but even in the content marketing and SEO side for some of our brands. So it was just a continuous marathon but sprinting marathon, which is insane, of just paying attention to data and being able to action against it. And, you know, everything that everyone else said, especially Chris, when you brought it up first, is this is sort of that new normal. And it is. And so we're running at this pace and we're getting comfortable with it, but it would be really nice to have a little bit of a break. So, you know, fingers crossed that, you know, we've adapted and acclimated, but that it's just not going to continue at that same pace of change and adaptability that we're going to have to keep having and stuff. So, and as I noted before we got on, I am wearing my heart earrings. It is a special day. So hoping 2021 in so many different ways is a loving space and a good energetic space for all of us. And just on Shira's note, with the smart TVs tracking us, they're going to know I'm watching a lot of Mandalorian and a lot of Bridgerton, and I'm continuously rewatching Gilmore Girls, guilty pleasure.
And Downton Abbey.
I'm not into that one, but
Yeah. I'm probably being judged because we just started the third season of Stranger Things way late.
At least you're watching it.
Yeah, my TV's judging me. It's okay though. I'll take it. Thank you, Heather. Good stuff. And then let's you're correct. Today is a big day, and then no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, the celebration of American democracy is always a good thing to remember and to do. And today's a day we can do that. So. Moving forward and going last, but not least certainly, is Mark Sullivan. Mark, your 7 words, I think, speak for all of us, and that's the reason why you're in this kind of cleanup hitter role. I want to see you in person. Tell us more.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on today. It's definitely 5 tough acts to follow here. I would say my response was the most lighthearted one, I would say, but probably hits close to home, right? We, you know, everybody, not just in this industry, but in the world, had to pivot on a dime sometime mid-March, let's say, and go home. And then, you know, I remember when I left on a Friday, middle of March, right? And I forgot my laptop in the office. And I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, so I'm literally 2 miles from the office, but, you know, so I drove in the next day on Saturday morning and went and picked it up, and I've never been back to my office since then. So, like many of us, you know, probably many of us on this call in the industry. So, my response is really just coming from leaning forward here in 2021. I really can't, you know, we've all adapted to Zoom calls or Google Meetup or however you're accessing your you know, meeting over video. And, you know, again, I just can't wait to you know, fly out to California and, you know, take our agency and advertiser partners, you know, out to dinner and go to their office and catch up in person. You know, you just can't. Not enough can be said for in-person meetings, right? It may be a presentation, a cup of coffee, a dinner, whatever it may be. It's a very social industry that we're in, and I really, you know, been in it for a long time, as many people on this call here, and we enjoy it. And I just miss, you know, we probably all miss seeing each other in person on some level, some degree, and hopefully, you know, PDMI West, I'll be the first one in line to get on my United flight out to San Diego. So I hope that comes. But I think, you know, I applaud everybody at ViacomCBS and on the agency side, advertiser side, all media partners. Everybody has adapted and adjusted, and we're moving forward in this new norm. And we won't go back to normal. You know, I don't think, even when we do go back to the office, whenever that may be, it will not be on a 5-day-a-week schedule. We don't think, you know, we don't have, you know, full information yet, but and I think that'll be very similar to other media partners. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
No, that's well said.
No, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, I'd love to see you out here in San Diego.
I'm a little cold right now, so I can't wait to come out there.
If there's an industry that's looking for a happy hour, it's this one.
There's no doubt, and we are looking forward to hopefully hosting that October 4th through 6th. That's the goal. You know, we're working with the hotel, and we're we're on track. It's just about getting the country on track and getting through this dark time of the pandemic, and hopefully getting into brighter times here in the spring, summer, and going forward. So we look forward to hosting those cocktail hours. And Mark, I can tell you, I believe it was March 13th. I remember Friday, March 13th.
Yeah.
Because that was the day that we officially canceled PDMI East, and that was the kind of the day that everything kind of, the curtain came down that day.
That was me too.
Yes.
And you know, Mark, it's so funny that I mean, Zoom has been great, and it's been Teams, all the video stuff has been I think a real technology, you know, windfall for all of us. But there's nothing like the in-person conversation, right? The back and forth, the banter, the spontaneous idea. You know, I find that especially on one-on-ones, I get challenged by Zoom because you're trying to look at the face of the person you're talking to, which means you're actually not looking at the camera. So you're actually not looking at their eyes when you're talking to them. So it gets, it's a really odd thing, especially one-to-one conversations. And, you know, I find myself clicking off my view, so I hide my self view, because otherwise I keep looking at myself to see how I look when I'm talking to other people. Right? I mean,
You look fabulous, Chris.
No, but it's so weird. But I actually find that the group chats much easier to handle and manage than one-on-one chats via Zoom.
Yeah.
Because at least if I'm staring into the abyss of 7 faces, it doesn't seem so awkward.
Right. Well, to flip what you say, Mark, on its head a little bit comedically, I never thought I'd miss thinking to myself, oh God, here comes that guy. Well, we do have one question. It's actually for the whole panel, so we'll try to run through it as quickly as we can and then sign off. But you know, every disaster also delivers opportunity, says the question. Can the panel share one positive outcome from this past year?
I would say the growth of independent small e-commerce business.
It's a good one.
Tremendous innovations. We've been forced to innovate. Absolutely. Every surviving business has had to innovate. I think Dan said it earlier, flexibility. It's gone just beyond flexibility.
Yes, I agree. I think creativity is also a strong point for us, because I found myself thinking about the best idea when I'm not sitting. And because I'm at home and moving all the time, so I have many more ideas.
I've been impressed with the way the industry as a whole has been able to just juggle this new norm and every curveball that's been thrown as an industry our way over the past 10 months. Have been able to seemingly handle and move forward with.
Yep.
I would say efficiency and brevity. We've gotten so much better on the agency side, and so much more efficient, and much better at just dialing it in.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and I think some legacy thought was cleared out. You know, just in the way certain things were, you know, bought and sold, and the cycles and things like that. There was changes there, but you know, Doug, to the innovation point, without a doubt, just be able to be flexible with our teammates, and you know what, taking a look at that, what does work from home look like for folks that you know do have challenges with family lives and things like that, where we were forced into proving that it can be done, because we're coming up on a year of doing it. And
yes.
To Mark's point, as an industry, we did a great job of doing it. So you got to go back to, you know, 5 days a week and being in the office and doing that. It's like, no, we definitely have plenty of reasons now to rethink that formula. So.
That's right. No question.
No
question.
Tremendous.
Big time.
Well, hey, thank you, folks. Everybody, really, really great feedback here today. We appreciate it as always, and we appreciate the work that each of you do as members of the Brand Response Council. So again, thank you all. For our attendees, your next opportunity to attend a live online Take 20 is Wednesday, February 3rd, as we discuss the vertical markets to watch for in 2021. Please visit thepdmi.com pdmi.com/take-20 to check out the upcoming schedule and register to attend today. The video of this session should be live online by Friday. So again, you can visit that same webpage, thepdmi.com/take-20 if you missed any of this and wanted to catch up. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the PDMI's Take 20. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your work week. Stay safe and stay well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.